Hey, welcome to the channel. We hope that you enjoy today's stories and check out the chapters on the video to see all the stories for today. But before we get into this video, subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon to get notified when we release a new video. So let's get into the video. Hospice story and the meeting I had at the gate. In another post, I mentioned that I have been a long-term hospice nurse, and I had seen things that made me a believer in the afterlife. This is one of my favorite experiences. This is a story about Hilda, my little old lady hospice patient who lived in an Odessa, Texas nursing home. This is also a story about Claude, who was her son, but also my hospice patient, and lived at home in Midland, Texas with his wife, Joni. Yes, Mother Hilda and son Claude were both dying at the same time in two separate places 20 miles apart. And poor wife/daughter-in-law, Joni, was trying to take care of both and doing a great job doing it. Between the two, Hilda the mom and Claude the son, I really expected Claude to go first. He was confused, he would still get up a little bit, but now he was weak, and he just looked sick. I really expected to be seeing him for maybe a couple of weeks before I anticipated him dying. His mother, Hilda, all things considered, was doing relatively well. I really thought that I might be seeing her for 2, if not 3 months, maybe even longer. She had been a long-term resident in the nursing home with Alzheimer's. It just continued to take its toll on her to the point where she was almost bedbound. And yes, she stopped eating as much and had been losing weight, and she was very confused. But she was pleasantly confused. I would typically see her twice a week on Tuesdays and Fridays, normally after seeing her son on the same day. And each time I would have to reintroduce myself to her, and we would chat for a while, and sometimes she would tell me about the same stories from her youth over and over again, but she never failed to bring a smile to my face. And, due to her confusion, she would sometimes just come out with things that really showed her confusion, like,
"I'm going to go play baseball at the park this weekend."
When obviously, just getting out of bed was almost beyond her. But she was an amazingly sweet lady, even if she didn't remember who I was each time, and sometimes came out with things that didn't make sense. And, like I said, I didn't expect her to die anytime soon. I really thought that she would just continue to slowly decline, and probably in a couple of months, I expected her to die peacefully, but sadly, to outlive her son. So, one Friday I made my stop to check in on her son Claude, and he was doing okay. I make sure his pain is controlled and he's breathing okay. His wife Joni is also doing an amazing job. I let her know that I'm on my way to go see Hilda, and I'll see them back the following week. I drive over to the nursing home, check in with the staff, and they say Hilda is doing fine, maybe even happier than normal. I'm in a bit of a hurry, and running behind, and I know I won't have much time to visit with Hilda today. I go into her room, she greets me with,
"Hi, I'm Hilda."
"Hi, Hilda, I'm Chingern, and I'm a nurse. I was coming by to see how you are today."
"Well, I think I'm good."
"Are you hungry? Have you eaten?"
"Oh yes, dear, I think I had some pancakes and sausage."
"Very good, Hilda. Do you have any pain today?"
"No, you know I never have any pain." "Who are you?"
"I'm Chingern, and I'm a nurse, so I'm going to check your blood pressure and listen to you breathe if that's okay."
"Of course, honey, do what you need to, but I really don't think I need a doctor or a nurse."
I check her vitals, and everything is good, no obvious signs of distress, and no pain. Hilda is in great shape, relatively speaking. "All right, Hilda, it looks like you're doing well. I saw Claude and Joni this morning, and they are doing well. I'll plan on seeing you next week."
"Well, honey, my son, you know the one on 145th Street, said he was meeting me up at the gate today at 2. He's taking me home. I won't be here."
So, knowing the condition Claude was in, I knew there was no way he was getting her, and besides, she said 145th Street, there are no numbered streets in Midland, and even Odessa streets don't go that high. And it was noon now, there's no way even Joni would be coming over to get her. Sweet Hilda, confused as always, but I guess she has something to look forward to. But at least Hilda looked good. I enjoyed my visit with her and was glad I would be able to keep seeing her for a while more. Okay, Hilda, I'll see you next week.
Okay, but I won't be here.
I gathered my bag and stethoscope, said goodbye to the nursing home staff, and drove back to Midland to start seeing my afternoon patients. 2:15, I get a text to call Hilda's nursing home. I figure they just need a refill on her medication. I call and talk with her nurse Annie. Miss Chingren, it's Hilda. I just went to check in on her, and she's dead. We had seen her about 30 minutes earlier and she was fine. We walked back in, well, she was just gone. I was shocked. Over the years, I had become really good at predicting when my patients would die, and yes, she was sick, but I never expected her to die that day. Or even that week or month. I thought back to her conversation about her son meeting her at the gate. I called Joni's number. She answered and let her know that it sounded like Hilda had passed. Joni was sad but not overly surprised. I guess when anyone is 102, it's not a terrible surprise. I told her I was going back over to officially pronounce her, and Joni told me she would meet me. I asked about Claude, and she said he was fine. They had just been visiting, and she wasn't sure if she would tell him yet or not. I drove back to the nursing home, checked on Hilda, and sure enough, just like the staff had said, she was gone. Joni showed up just a bit later, and after some hugs, she told Hilda goodbye, and that she and Claude loved her. We stepped out into the hall. I told her that I was surprised that it had happened so quickly but looked like she had gone very peacefully. I told her about our last conversation. Joni, it was strange that she said she was going to meet her son at the gate at 2, and that's almost exactly when she died. I thought at first that maybe Claude had died and met her, but it sounds like that's not the case. But then, I really think it was just her confusion because she said her son was on 145th, and you all don't live on 145th, so I guess it was just her confusion talking. Joni, no, she was talking about her other son, Claude's brother. He lived on 145th Street in Lubbock. He died about 5 years ago. And it sounds like he was meeting her at the gate today at 2 to bring her home. I was shocked, speechless. Claude would go on to die a couple of weeks later, and then Joni a couple of years after that. And each time I would think about all of them, gathering at the gate, to welcome each other home.
If you're enjoying today's video about stories of our lives, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel to see more videos like this and more. Now, let's get back to the video.
Please tell me if there is a logical explanation for this. Because I'm now scared to go to work. I, a 27-year-old female, live in the United Kingdom and have been a qualified nurse since 2018. I specialize in stroke and stroke rehabilitation but also work in a private nursing home from time to earn some extra money. About 6 months ago a new resident moved into the home, we can call her Jenny, for palliative care for her terminal bowel cancer. Whilst with us, Jenny found out that not only had her bowel cancer spread to her liver and lungs, but she also had brain metastasis and only had a few months left to live. After about 2 months with us, she started really freaking out when we would help her back to her room in the evening and get her comfortable for the night. She used to shout at us to be careful of the children or don't fall in the river. When asked what she was talking about, she explained to us she could see a river flowing through her room and lots of children playing in it. She wasn't necessarily scared of the children, she just didn't want us to stand on them and hurt them. The doctors and nurses all believed that she was hallucinating due to the brain metastases and the amount of opioid medication she was on, and we all made sure we didn't stand where she was pointing so we didn't stand on the children she could see. A couple of months ago Jenny passed away peacefully and I hadn't thought about the children or the river since. 2 weeks ago, a new resident moved into Jenny's old room, we will call her Sarah. I would like to point out that Sarah didn't live here when Jenny was here, they have never met, and nobody would ever have mentioned Jenny to Sarah. Sarah's first week with us passed and she was settling in well until the other night when we tried to take her back to her room for the night and she refused. She said she was not ever going back into that room because she couldn't sleep due to all the noise, and she didn't like how close they all got. We asked her what she meant as the home was very quiet at night, and she said, "Jenny, I froze." I again asked her what she meant, and she said Jenny and the children make so much noise when they're playing, and it keeps me up all night. I was in absolute shock and have had trouble going in that room since. I've always been a skeptic, but I can't see any other logical explanation for this. I have asked other staff, and nobody has mentioned Jenny or the children in the river to Sarah. Somebody, please tell me there's another explanation for this.
My wife works in a haunted school, and these are her experiences. We live in a small town in the Midwest. She works at an old elementary school as a music teacher. We also live across the street from a cemetery where we've both seen a spooky ghost. I'm still kind of skeptical. When she started working at the school, she came home with an odd story about how her pencil cup is always thrown on the ground when she comes to work in the morning. She thought it was just a little custodian at first, then she blamed the cup, then the crepey desk, and then maybe the floor wasn't level. It happened every single night, and she'd find her pens tossed everywhere and the cup somewhere on the ground. Finally, she just stopped talking about it. Eventually, the custodian complained to the administrators that my wife was throwing her pens on the floor and leaving the mess for him. The pen cup thing still happens on almost a daily basis. When my wife was practicing a hymn alone in her classroom after school, the piano made a sound as if, in her words,
someone sat right on the piano.
She said it was a brief, obnoxious burst of piano notes and then silence. She said she slowly walked out and pushed it out of her mind. The last thing is the scariest to me. The school has a second story that was never finished. It's used as a huge storage attic. It's accessible from a locked ladder outside of the building. Other teachers experienced a similar thing, but my wife didn't really believe it until last night. She was giving a private lesson to a high school girl that wants to learn opera. The girl left, and while my wife was gathering her stuff to head home, she heard someone running, full speed, from the inaccessible side of the attic thing, towards the ladder side. She heard the running from one end to the other super fast, then nothing. She said she was actually crazy scared and she ran to her car. She enjoys the experiences. I'm kind of afraid for her. But that's the story.
Me and my friends saw an alien. Well, this story is a little old. I think I was about 10 to 11 years old when it happened. Now I'm 16 and can't think of an answer to that isn't an alien. At that age, I used to go to church with my sister and come back from 8 to 9 p.m. The church was very close to my house. It was on the street facing the street where I lived, and I could see it from the front door. I, my older sister and 3 of our friends who were also sisters went back together. They lived in front of a football field, and next to this field there was a small path whose entrance was a big tree. The girls' house was right at the end of that path, but they could also get there by crossing the field. When we arrived in front of the path, we stopped to talking a little. The street was lit and some neighbors and guys in a bar were a little close to where we were, so no problem. Suddenly the youngest of the sisters says that she saw something move in the bush under the tree, and her older sister throws a pebble to see what it was. The moving thing appeared just the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. I'd say it was literally the standard description of an alien, with the exception that the skin was a pale, yellowish white. Big black eyes, a big head, the mouth and nose were practically striped, and he breathed heavily. It is also worth noting that he was crouched in a way that we only saw his face among the bushes. We were terrified and screamed. The creature also looked scared and looked like wanted to get out of there. He looked around scared and restless. When we tried to approach him, he just jumped out of the bush and was very, very, very fast. We could barely see his body, skinny and as white as his head. I swear he was so fast that we lost him easily. The girls didn't want to go through the path and crossed the field. My sister and I went back to our house. It was on the same street as the one in the field, really close, and we were even stopped by neighbors asking what had happened, but we didn't answer. When we got home, we told our mother, who was the only one awake, and to our surprise she believed and even went there to see if the thing was still there. Obviously it wasn't. I don't care if someone doesn't want to believe it. I know what I saw and I wanted to share it because I find this story very interesting. By the way, sorry for any mistakes.
Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed today's video, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel to see more videos about stories of our lives. Click on one of these videos to watch more and see you soon.